It's October 7, 2007, and United States Marine Corps Captain Sam Cahill readies himself for his fourth combat deployment to Afghanistan in 4 days. Before signing off from the base, he writes a letter to his wife and high school sweetheart Grace and leaves it with Major Cavazos to give to her if he ever dies in duty. At home, his wife raises their 2 young daughters, Isabel and Maggie. The following day, he fetches his brother Tommy, a convicted felon who is released from prison on parole a few days before he gets deployed. After a brief reunion, Tommy drops off at a local pawn shop and books a hotel room before going to a family dinner with Sam, his family, and his parents, Hank and Elsie, in the evening. As he knocks on the door with flowers in hand for Grace, he is met by Maggie, who reveals that her mom dislikes him. Regardless, she welcomes him in, and they all start eating. All seems well as they catch up with Tommy when Hank, who has felt indifferent about him, makes subtle points about how better Sam is compared to him. Tension rises as he brings something up about prison that frustrates his son so much that he bangs the table. Hank leaves out of disgust while everyone at the table is processing what happened. Later, Tommy advises Sam to be safe while on duty as he goes. The day of the Afghanistan tour arrives on October 12, 2007. By the afternoon, with his men, Sam travels via his Black Hawk helicopter back to the landing zone when suddenly they get shot down somewhere in Helmand province. While some soldiers fall off into the sea, the rest of the men's fate is unknown. Meanwhile, after the U.S. government declares his team killed in action, the U.S. Marine Corps sends 2 soldiers to Sam's house to deliver the grave news. Grace is interrupted in the middle of her bath to meet the men downstairs, and she immediately breaks down in shock over what she hears. Later at night, she watches home movies of her husband together with the kids to cope with her sadness. She also attempts to call his cell phone, hoping he will pick up somehow. Suddenly, Tommy drops by her house to return Sam's truck. As he explains that his brother lets him borrow the car anytime, she tells him Sam is dead. Visibly shocked, he grows upset that no one called him about it and throws the keys on the ground. Afterward, he stops by his parents' house and sits outside the steps, trying to piece together the horrific news. After receiving sympathy from his mom, he comes inside but declines a drink from his dad, who is also sad. On the day of Sam's funeral, Grace tries to help her children prepare and embraces Maggie as she is too unhappy to wear anything appropriate. Later, Major Cavazos expresses his condolences to his fallen brother-in-arms and gives Grace the letter Sam wrote to her days prior. Meanwhile, after the service, Hank continues to drink his sorrows away and attempts to drive the family home while drunk, but Tommy stops him. Tensions flare up as he berates him for his life choices while Tommy blames him for influencing Sam to join the Marines because of his Vietnam War service. Elsie breaks up the fight and he retreats. Unbeknownst to everyone back home, Sam and Private Joe Willis are the sole survivors of the crash but are taken prisoner by Taliban fighters. After walking some miles in the middle of the desert, they are brought into a pit hole and detained. Later, the 2 soldiers spot a rescue helicopter and try to escape by banging the wooden barricade in the pit hole. One of the Taliban members is alerted gun and pokes his rifle through to make them stop. One afternoon, Sam knows that they will be interrogated at any moment, so he tells the private not to expose anything to the Taliban. Joe freaks out and insists they will starve them to make them talk or may even just kill them on the spot. After the local bandits talk it out, they get released from the pit hole and brought before their head, Yusuf. While another member of the Taliban is filming, the 2 men witness the death of a local man begging for forgiveness. Through a translator, Yusuf tells them they are unwelcome in Afghanistan, forcing them to make a recorded message against the American government. They defy his order and are subsequently brought into a cavern. Meanwhile, at a local bar and grill in the middle of the night, Tommy calls Grace to pick him up as he got wasted by expensive drinks that he cannot pay for, and the owner is threatening to get his parole officers involved. Though a bit exasperated over his behavior, she drives to the bar anyway and pays his debt of $47. The following day, after crashing on the couch, he wakes up to see the kids making some pancakes to cheer their grieving mom. His parents also show up at the house, allowing him to make amends with his dad. They talk about some childhood memories, and Hank gets emotional, still in the process of moving on. A day later, Tommy attempts to redeem himself and hires some men to complete a kitchen remodel for Grace, much to her surprise. Though she is irked that she was not informed beforehand, she accepts the kind gesture and offers the workers something to drink. After Elsie looks after her, Grace returns to bed but later gets the urge to check up on the downstairs remodeling. She sees Isabel and Maggie painting the wall together with her uncle Tommy as they try to bond a little by talking about Sam. She realizes this is an excellent way to help her daughters cope with the loss. As Maggie reaches for the ladder, she spills the tray accidentally on one of the workers, Owen. He is initially upset that the white paint went all over his brand new pants, but he relents after she apologizes. The men goof around with him as Grace gets him a clean shirt from Sam's closet. They later chill out with some beer and talk a bit when she offers Owen a complete set of Sam's old clothes. Tommy convinces him to take it all as he sees the look at a visibly upset Grace, who is deeply reminded of Sam. Elsewhere, Sam is tied up on a pole at dawn in the Taliban camp and thrown water. He is brought to see Private Joe, who the men pin down and pierce his body with burning coal. Sam yells, begging the private not to divulge anything, even as he is being punished mercilessly. Unfortunately, later at night, the translator presents him with a video of Joe on the camcorder saying they were wrong to take back Afghanistan as it belongs to its people. He ends the message by professing his love for his wife and son. Sam is threatened to do the same thing as they are aware of his 2 daughters. Back in the US, with the kitchen completely redone, Tommy and his nieces surprise Grace for her birthday along with some family and friends. While opening presents, Elsie and Tommy light up her cake, and they all sing happy birthday as she gets hugely touched by their effort to make her happy without Sam. The following day, she goes out with the kids with Tommy to an ice skating rink, and they all enjoy playing on the ice. Isabel confesses to her uncle that she is jealous of Maggie getting all the attention, but he tells her not to feel that way as he never liked being compared to his brother. Some time passes, and Tommy bucks up the courage to confront the teller of the bank he tried to rob. He talks about this experience with Grace, telling her he apologized for almost shooting her and leaving her traumatized over the incident. The woman was apparently grateful for his gesture and breathed a sigh of relief as she offered him to open a bank account. Grace admires him for finally making amends with people he wronged, and she bonds with him more over cigarettes. After a bit of playful teasing, they realize they have feelings for each other and kiss. Feeling regretful, she walks out for some air while Tommy cries and leaves the house. Before sleeping, Grace picks up Sam's letter from the drawer but struggles to open and read it. The morning after, she welcomes Tommy back home to work on some cabinets in the kitchen. His dad also arrives and seems impressed with his handiwork. Meanwhile, Sam is brought by their captors in front of a badly bruised Joe. A young boy comes and gives him a pipe as Yusuf instructs him to beat the private to death as he has no further use to their cause. Though hesitant at first, he is eventually forced to do as he is told when the translator points a gun on his head and the crowd jeers around him. This horrific act of violence scars his whole psyche as he is taken back to the cavern. By some miracle, the next day, his location is found by an American rescue team. As helicopters swarm the area, the translator attempts to kill Sam inside the cavern but gets shot down. The soldiers find him barely able to speak because of all the trauma he endured in the desert. At home, the kids play around in the snow with their uncle when Grace receives an urgent call from the Marines saying Sam has survived. She breaks down in tears, telling Tommy the excellent news. They rush out to the base and see an aircraft carrying Sam back home safely. His daughters are overjoyed and embrace him as he reunites with everyone, including Tommy, now hiding a secret from him. They get home, and he is amazed to see a refurbished kitchen and embraces the girls for a job well done as he rests in his bedroom. Though Grace is happy to see him back, she notices odd behavior from him while he shaves, which confounds her. Later, his dad checks in on him while he fixes his truck and notices his strange behavior, hoping he will talk about it when he is ready. Tommy grows concerned over his brother as he sees him staring blankly at his family while they go ice skating. He sits with him, and Sam expresses gratitude for caring for his family while away. Suddenly, he asks him directly if he had made love with Grace, but Tommy rebuts by saying he has been overthinking things since he came back. The next day, Cassie, the wife of Private Joe, pays a visit and reveals to Grace how she hated Sam for being alive. As she picks up her baby crawling toward Sam, she asks him point blank if he knows any news about her husband, to which he denies. More signs of post-traumatic stress disorder show as he organizes the cups in a cupboard and arms himself with a gun when he hears a noise outside. At the base, he expresses his desire to go back on duty to Major Cavazos but says it will take more time since he is still recovering mentally. At dinner, he goes to the bedroom upset after hearing Maggie tell a joke, so Grace checks up on him. He has suspicions about her, so she comes clean with him saying she only kissed Tommy and never slept with him. He does not believe her and leaves in a huff to visit the grave of Private Joe and contemplate. During Maggie's birthday, Tommy comes over with a date. In the middle of the conversation at the table, Sam pops Isabel's balloon for making too much noise, so she angrily claims that Tommy and Grace are having an affair and wishes he remained dead. Returning home, she repeats her disdain for her dad and prefers that Grace stays with her uncle. Downstairs, Sam embraces his paranoia based on what Isabel said and destroys the kitchen with a crowbar in a fit of rage. Meanwhile, Tommy senses that something terrible might happen to Grace and the kids, so he rushes to their house while his parents call the police. He tries to calm his brother but reaches for the pistol on his back, which sends Sam spiraling out of control and points a gun at him while the cops arrive. Outside, they enter a standoff with Sam, who fires the gun into the air before holding it to his own head, contemplating suicide. He reluctantly surrenders after several pleas from Tommy and Grace and admits to them he is mentally unstable. After his arrest, she opens the letter Sam left her, saying he will always think about her and her children. Later, Tommy makes amends with him on a phone call. Sam is released from a Department of Veteran Affairs mental hospital sometime later. Grace fetches him and gives him an ultimatum that he will forever lose her if he doesn't tell her what happened. Sam finally opens up, confiding that he was forced to kill Private Joe, and she embraces him. He then wonders if he will ever live normally with all he endured.